Oh, I don't have the motivation to do that. It's bullshit. What's happening? Welcome back to the Shoveit podcast. If you're new here, my name's Dylan, and let's talk about some creative shit, shall we? I want to talk about motivation today. I came across a quote, and I can't for the life of me remember who the heck it was. Quote went like this: momentum drives motivation.
Yeah, you better.
I almost forgot it there as I went to tell you. Momentum drives motivation. And that's just been racking around my head, bouncing back and forth, just doing the rounds. Every now and then it pops up and I'm like, momentum. That's the trick there. And the reason I find this so interesting is we often blame motivation. And I'm talking here as a creative person or a content creator or someone who wants to make stuff. And I find as the years have gone on, and I find this more in recent years, and the more people I speak to, it feels like this is very, very heavy in the last few years. The motivation to do something doesn't seem to be there. And I'll speak to friends of mine who I'm like been chatting to, and they'll have told me that they're working on a project. Oh, I've got this cool idea that I want to try. I want to go do this on a weekend. I want to go shoot these photographs and make this video. Anyway, you speak to them like a week later and like, how you getting on with that video? No, I haven't done it. Or I haven't been out with a camera. I haven't done any of that stuff. And sometimes that's me. Sometimes I literally say to myself, tomorrow night, I've got time aside. I'm going to go work on this project. I'm going to go do this thing. And then it gets to the day and I'm like, oh, I've lost the motivation is the phrase that I say. Sometimes my wife's like, I thought you were going out to do that thing. I can't be bothered. I have no motivation to do it. And I started, this has been like a bit of a cycle. And I think back to the pandemic side of things, I committed like a whole lot of creativity to that year and made a whole bunch of mad shit that was quite fun. And I always felt like I shot my load that year, like all of it at once. And then the years that followed were just like, like I was couldn't be bothered. I just demotivated myself to create stuff. And it also doesn't help when every time you open up any phone or laptop or anything, all you get served is just other people making and other people doing stuff. And it's like, for me, it's gone past the point of inspiration to the point where sometimes it just fucking irritates me. So if I think back to like 2007 to about 2015, that little period of time was like the internet. For like a lot of the stuff that I watch now was all kind of new and fresh, and it was starting to build up, and you're starting to see a bunch of these people and creators and online commentators now coming up. And then from about 2015 to about 2019, I was like heavily involved in a very small world, but the world of content creation, and quite kind of confident to be able to create regular content. And there was this little pocket of time where you would open up and you'd be stoked to see other creators and other people making stuff, and you'd be like, I love the idea of this, and this is kind of cool. It's cool. And they would motivate me to do stuff. And I had friends who would be motivated by it as well. And back at that time, there was like a little group of us, like the Rugrats. And we would, I'm saying we'd run about the city shooting photographs and making videos, vlogs. It was all people from different little networks. And I got to know them all through the beauty of the internet. And working with these guys and meeting these people at events, and everyone was like shooting their own little bit. Everyone was making their own little video. It was just like healthy competition, which I always really liked. And then the other side of it, you had creators online who were making stuff, and you were watching them and being inspired by other people pushing their boundaries or what they were doing. And I kind of like that. But now I just feel like there's so many fucking people on the internet making things and sharing their fucking opinions and talking about shit like this right now that we're all listening to. I am not lost to the irony of the fact that I'm sharing my opinions on the internet, frustrated at people sharing their opinions on the internet. But what I mean more about that is like, it's that annoying funnel, that like echo chamber that platforms love to give us. So it's like, hey, you like that? Here's fucking loads of it. And then as someone that wants to shoot videos or photos, I come up with like what I think are original ideas based on things that I've experienced. And then I open up the internet, and the internet's like, you know all that shit you were thinking about this week that you thought was so cool and original? Here's fucking 20 people that have already done it. I'm just like, oh. See, when I see that, I just lose the will to want to do anything. I can't be bothered. And I go, oh, what's the fucking point? What is the point? Best case scenario, it's just a thing uploaded to the internet that no one cares about. And I personally have found that quite difficult to constantly be fed that and see stuff. And now, like, my YouTube algorithm now is very different to what it was. If I go back 4 or 5 years ago, it was loads of people talking about camera gear, chatting about film and photography and video. And it very quickly went from like the art side of what I loved about making stuff into a very camera nerdy, gear chatty, techie thing, which is annoying because it's like a lot of it's very useful and there's people making useful content. And me, as somebody who wants to make stuff, it's quite nice to know about the tech that we're using. But like, also YouTube, chill the fuck out. I don't just want to watch 37 different people all review the same camera. Like, one or two. So at the point, like, well, I've got another login, I just go and do that under, or I'll just do it under a fucking logged out, or I'll just do it on the TV where I'm not logged into my account so I can watch something. But my personal YouTube preferences now have been way more surfing videos, BMX, some skate stuff, a lot more golf, proper old man shit. Just watching like the Four Brothers, if you've ever seen them. Just 2 hours of people playing golf. Badly. Question. Much better than me, but badly if you compare it to like a pro, an actual pro. So I quite enjoy stuff like that. I quite like slow content. I like long form content. And I feel like I've managed to control my YouTube algorithm, but it doesn't take fucking much. It doesn't take much. You just watch one conspiracy video and suddenly, hey, here's some flat earth stuff. And you're like, what the fuck? I don't need all of this. You watch one video about the Sony ZVE10 rig build, and then it's like, here's 9 other people that have also done a rig build. And I get it. You might be interested, but also the fucking journey of me finding my own stuff feels like it's getting stripped away from me, and the internet's just providing me that journey. So where I used to feel like I'd come onto the internet and explore and find, inspiration in things, I feel like the internet just dictates that now, and it ruins that organic journey of getting there, of finding what the things you want to watch in your own individual way. And it just shapes everybody to be like a beige version of themselves. So we're all like watching the same 7 creators, same fucking videos, and it's a cycle. And see, that whole cycle, that has wildly demotivated me. And then when I go to create my own content, I can't help think that there's fucking 25 other idiots just like me doing the same thing. But the reality is, who cares? There always have been. It's just now that we're all connected through the internet. So that for me has been a massive struggle. And I have been using the excuse of I don't have the motivation to do something. And when I talk to friends, I have no motivation. Or if my friends are saying to me, I'm not, I just don't have the motivation to go out and shoot photographs anymore. I don't have the motivation to make videos anymore. I just don't fucking, who cares, kind of thing. And then I heard that quote by, let's just say it was Gary Vee. It's probably been a Gary Vee video. Momentum drives motivation. And I really started thinking about that, because I'm sitting there waiting like for the motivation, saying sometimes, like in conversation to my wife, like I need the motivation to go out and do the thing, go out and make stuff. And then I'm like, am I trying to force myself to go out and, I don't know, shoot a video for YouTube or take some photographs for Instagram or whatever? I still take the photos, by the way. I love taking photos, but so often they just sit on the hard. There's a folder there called, literally on my hard drive, is called things to edit, and it's because they were all scattered on the hard drive as like individual projects, like reels that I've shot, videos that I've made, photographs that are sitting in raw, and then eventually I created one that was like photos to edit, and then it was like reels to edit, and then it was YouTube videos to edit, and then I just like a month goes by, and like they can just all go into one folder now called videos to edit. Eventually it's just going to be like things to delete, and then they'll just be in the trash, deleted. So it's weird because I like doing the thing, but then it like stops halfway through because I lose interest or motivation in the whole process. And I think back to myself, like when I started posting stuff on Instagram and then also YouTube, what was the difference in my mindset then to my mindset now? And I think like there's a lot of second guessing. There's a lot of self-criticism. There's a lot of like bombardment from everybody in the world who makes stuff, and this feeling that like I don't know if an idea I've had is an original thought that I've come up with based on my life experiences, or if it's someone else's fucking idea that's infiltrated my subconscious. And why did I say it like that? I wanted to say psyche and subconscious, my subconscious. Like it's in the back of my skull, and I'm sitting thinking, I don't even know if that's an original idea anymore. I don't even know, like, should I even do that? And then the more I think about it, the more I question it, and the more I question it, the more the cycle continues to the point where I'm like, I lose the motivation to make it. And then I was thinking, like, when I started this thing, I think when I started my original Instagram page, I was like, oh, I'll do one of those. I think I started by just a place to just post photos. And then I started doing that 365 photo challenge that everyone was doing back in the day. As wank as that is, it's actually great because it breaks down one barrier and gives you a different barrier. So I remember having this conversation with my buddy Dan years ago around photography. And like, I would go out and shoot photographs. And it's funny, even when the two of us do pull our fingers out and go and do it, like, and you go out and shoot, I'll shoot a ton of photos on a couple of hours shoot somewhere in the city or on the coast. And Dan will shoot like 30. And then one of his photos will be posted, and like 50 of mine will be posted over the next couple of months. And I remember having this conversation with him like a long time ago where he'd like set himself the standard of like what he posts, which is great. You've got to have a high standard. But he then became like, there was like a limit created. He created his own limit on the standard of the photo. And at the time I didn't understand it. But then as it's gone on, I've started to be a bit like that. I'm like, I don't know if I couldn't, this sounds so mad. I don't feel like I could post a photo taken on my phone on my Instagram grid anymore, which is mental. Because I don't care what cameras I use, and I take a lot of nice photos on my phone. And I'm like, it's taken on my phone, I'll just stick it on stories because it has no place on my grid. I'm like, I want that to be phone photos. No, not to be phone photos, to be camera photos. And I'm like, this is, like, I remember back when I was posting, like the 365 thing was great because I was like, whatever camera you've got, whatever you shoot the photograph. And sometimes it's basically like you've shot some stuff on your phone and then you've got to the end of the day and you're like, fuck, I forgot to go shoot a good photograph today. And then you've got the one from your phone. It's like a backup, like a safety shot. So it like removed that barrier for entry of like, we'll use the term quality from a technical point of view, and just allowed me to give myself the goal of I just have to post a photo every day. Anyway, from that I ended up on Instagram stories, and I started off doing silly little things like everyone does, filming my lunch. And then it was like filming my feet. And then it was filming my feet walking to my lunch. And then and it eventually turned into me turning the camera on myself. And that was like very early days of Instagram. When I think back to that, like I must have been one of the first people to do that, to like vlog on Instagram. And that all came from pure inspiration, from watching people like Casey Neistat on YouTube and then going, oh, this is how I shoot videos when I go like out in the BMX with friends. Like I narrate it like this. I didn't think you could share this with the internet. This actually works for me really well, but I didn't feel like I could commit to YouTube, so I did it on Instagram stories, and I started doing that vertically, and then found people down the line who also were doing it vertically and became friends with those people, and then broadened that horizon, and there was loads of us. So that was kind of cool. And then I got to this bit where I'd set my challenge, which was like, I want to do an Instagram story every day. And I don't just mean like post a photograph. I mean like filmed, edited, sequenced, sometimes intro, outros, music, sometimes sound effects. And sometimes it would be on the phone. Sometimes it would be on a GoPro. Other times it would be on a camera. But I shot and edited and posted a story every day. I think I did it for like 3.5 years. And there were times where those stories were really, like they might have been 6 minutes long, cut into 15-second segments, and like edited throughout. And then there were other times where it was only a minute long. But sometimes it was about photography. Sometimes it was a story of what happened during the day. And it was this whole weird mix mash of stuff. But the consistent thing throughout that is actually the consistency. The one consistent thing I did every single time was I posted the video every day. And I remember sitting there at like 11 p.m. at night going, fuck, I need to edit and post this video I filmed today. And my wife being like, why are you so stressed out? You don't have to post it. I was like, but I do have to post it. And then I've said this before on videos, but I was in France working on a job with my friend Ryan. We were there shooting a music video for like 3 days in the desert, this mad like desert-based music video. It was crazy. And I was like editing a story or whatever it was, and I put it up, and he said something like, fair play, like at least you're committed to doing that. Why do you feel you have to do it like this every single day? And I'd say, like, if I didn't do it every single day, I would never do it. I would just quit. And we laughed about that. I laughed like as if that was just a thing that I said, but I didn't realize how on point that comment was at the time. It's only now when I look back at it, I'm like, you were fucking bang on the money there, fella. Bang on the money. Because then one day I stopped. And then I just derailed the whole thing. And as soon as I derailed it, I think I took like a 2-week gap. And in that 2-week gap was hilarious because people were messaging me to be like, you all right? Everything okay? Like, people actually messaged me to go, I've been looking for your story today, but it's not on Instagram. Is everything okay? I was like, and that was on like day one. And then like 3 days later, I got messages, and I got quite a few. By quite a few, if you look at my numbers, there was maybe 30 people that had messaged me over a 2-week, but that's 30 people who were fucking sitting there waiting on me uploading some rambling nonsense onto social media. So thanks to those 30 people for giving a fuck. But that just shows you there, like, how the consistency of continuing to do it was the thing that was driving me to keep doing it, which is so silly. So then when I read that quote or heard that quote, I was really started thinking of it. It's really gone through my head a lot. And it was like, it was the momentum. It was the momentum that drove the motivation. And they sort of work part and parcel with each other. Motivation and momentum both sort of push each other in the same direction. So when I stopped making things, and it was the same with some podcast stuff I did. My buddy Ryan and I did a podcast every day during lockdown for like 70 episodes or something before stopping. And it was a bullshit podcast. I mean, it was I loved it, but no one really cared. No one really listened, but we just did it for ourselves. And we joked about the fact that no one listened to it, but we just kept doing it anyway. Some would say we just kept going. And it was that constant, deadline that we were setting ourselves that was making us continue to do it. And in the process, learned a hell of a lot about podcasts, learned a lot about talking to camera, learned a lot about like how to structure sentences and hold dead space, and how to do a remote podcast that looks like you're both in the same room, things like that. And that was all because we just did it every single day. And for me at YouTube, I think that even that same year, I think I did a video every week, or maybe, every week, 52 weeks in a year, every single week for a year. And it was the consistency of doing it. And then over the last couple of years, I've just chopped and changed things with my work and how I'm doing stuff and what clients are doing. And then I've waded a lot of stuff into client work and got really involved and started working with a lot of people that I really like working with, which has meant it's taken a lot of my time and enthusiasm into working with them. And it's limited a little bit of the time that I maybe had prior to that for my own stuff. But then on top of that, a lot of my free time, I've tried to fill a lot more recently with more analog things. I play cricket. I train twice a week and play a match on a Saturday. I'm away from screens, although I do take photographs of that and help make content for that. So maybe that's just bullshit. Maybe it's just an excuse I'm telling myself. But it feels more analog. And then I surf and I go to the gym a lot more, and all that stuff is away from screens for the most part. So it's a lot more of the things that I enjoy doing. So I'm not always tied to a screen. But the longer that gap went, then the bigger the struggle came to make something again, to pick up a camera and shoot something. It sounds so stupid. And when you talk to people who don't put things on the internet and don't contribute, they don't get it. I'll just go like, well, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. I'm like, but I do want to do it. I'm like, well, then do it. And they're like, I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm not motivated to do it. And then you can see people looking at you going, you're an idiot. You're making such a big deal about this. But it's really got my head thinking about that idea of constantly making something, setting yourself a deadline, whatever it is, but constantly creating the thing. The momentum of doing it makes you want to do it more. And where it really hit home for me is I've never really been into the like a gym guy. I've never really been into the gym. I've always had a life of fitness, but like indirectly through the activities that I did in my life. And I've become way more sedentary the last 5 years. And I've noticed it in my body as I've got a bit older. I've felt I've slowed down. And then working with a guy recently, which I will get into as a whole other podcast, because there's a load of cool content to come from that actually. He started to change the way I look at certain things. And I've been going to the gym a lot more. I've been a lot more inspired to do that. And I go through like little, ebbs and flows of that. But what I find with that is like, if I don't go to the gym for 3 or 4 days, then I'm like, I can't be fucked. I'm just like, I can't be bothered going to the gym. I'll just sit here and chill on the sofa. But then and then that turns into, I'll just eat this half tub of Ben and Jerry's, or I'll have that second beer. Or if you're speaking to him, I'll have a beer, right? But it's a second beer. But as soon as I go to the gym, suddenly all those decisions are way easier to manage. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that because I was at the gym yesterday. And also now I want to go to the gym tomorrow. Or I've got this plan to go for a run tomorrow. Or whatever fucking exercise I'm doing. Because it's the momentum of continuing to go to the gym that inspires me and drives me and gives me the motivation to want to go tomorrow. And it's exactly the same thing with our content. The more you create and the more you just go fuck it and post it, the more you will be inspired and motivated to do the next one. And yes, you're going to post some horse shit along the way and some stuff that flops. But I always feel like I use content creation. I hate that phrase. I make things for the internet. Not even for the internet, just for me. For 2 reasons. One, I love the process of making things. And I mean, like, whether it's setting up a photo or just shooting snaps or making a video or an anime, whatever that is, designing something, designing a scrapbook thing, printing photos. I like the art of making that. I enjoy the process of it. And I like using it as a tool to learn, to teach myself techniques, to teach myself new ways of doing stuff, and for trying other ways of doing things. So it's like, sometimes it feels like a burden, and I'm like, it's not a burden. This is my way of learning things. This is my way of doing stuff. And as wanky as it sounds, this is my way of expressing myself. But it's just my way. I just like making shit, otherwise, I mean, my daughter sits sometimes and she like makes these weird mask things in the house, and she'll like make the thing and then like she'll show you and she's all proud of it, and then like 3 days later she's torn it all apart, stripped all the paint off, and she's doing something different. She's cutting it up, making another mask. And I'm like, how many fucking masks do you need? Like, why do you keep chopping up the mask? And she's like, well, I've made it now. I don't care anymore. I want to make another one. Because sometimes I watch her and I'm like, that's the energy right there. I get that. I understand the enjoyment in making that thing. And once it's made, it's like, it's done now. The beauty of what we do, or what I have the chance, or what so many of us have a chance to do, is you have the opportunity now to share that with so many people. And that is a beautiful thing, and also a horribly daunting thing. It's the thing that gets you excited and the thing that makes you fucking hella nervous to do. I mean, I'm pretty confident putting a video on the internet, and I'm by no means got a big following, but I'm quite confident in putting myself out there, and I constantly second guess it. And the less that I do it, the less motivated I am to do it. And that motivation is bullshit because it doesn't fucking exist. And I read a book in about 2019 by a guy called Benjamin Hardy, and the book was called Willpower Doesn't Work. And if you find the book, read it. It's a great read. The gist of it is, it's been a while since I read it, but the gist of it was just like, we'll have this idea that willpower is going to come and save us. Oh, if I just had the willpower to get up, and not be a fucking lazy fat bastard, that would be me. But actually, that's not the truth. If I just had the willpower to shoot really cool videos for the internet, then I'd be sweet. But that also not the fucking truth. The truth of the matter is, you need to make changes in your life that allow you to create these things. You need to change your environment, change the people you're talking to, change the process and procedures you're going through in your day-to-day life. And when you make those changes, you set yourself up for a position where you have a higher possibility of doing the thing that you want to fucking do. You can't just sit there waiting on the willpower or sit there waiting on the motivation. Oh, when I have the motivation to do it, then I'll make a video. How about fucking make the video and post it and then move on. Make the next one. Or don't. If you don't want to do it, do none of it. Sit in your hole and watch TV. But if you want to make videos, this is me talking to me. If I want to make a video, I need to fucking make the fucking video, which is how we've got to this podcast, which has been very ill prepared and a bit of a ramble. But I was like, oh, I'll go and shoot a podcast now. And I've had a load of topics I want to talk about. But every time I'm like, oh, the studio's a mess. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I can't do that now because I don't have the time. I can't tell you what I'll do. I'll come back tomorrow when I'm a bit more enthusiastic. Or then some days I'm like, oh, I want to do it. And then I get here and I'm like, let's just sit around and go, I don't have the motivation to sit and do it. Fuck up, Dill. Sit down and make the video. Because it's a step in the direction of making the next video. I've got to come and record this podcast. Like, not this one, like so many episodes. I joke. I feel like I've got to the point now where the sentence I say to, and if you know me and I speak to you on a regular basis, you've probably heard me say the sentence to you, oh, I had this idea for a video and I wrote it down. Or I've written this idea for a video. And I laugh because my buddy Ryan, he went through this. And I can say this because the ball bag doesn't even listen to these podcasts. But me and him laugh about this, and he said this to me years ago, and he was like, oh, I had an idea for a video. And I was like, have you made it? And he was like, no. I was like, well, then shut the fuck up. And then after he kept doing this for ages, I created him this logo that was just called, it was basically just his little face, his little street rat face in a vector. And it was like video, it was just called Videos I'll Never Make. And I was like, I said to him at the time, you should do an audio podcast where you just, like an audiobook, you just talk through the full narrative of the video that you're never going to make, because you're never going to make the video. So why not just sit down, hit record, audio only, no video just an audio only podcast, and you just record it like a storybook. Shot one, wide exterior, small street rat enters frame from the right hand side on a one wheel. He looks miserable. It's pissing down with rain. Shot two, handheld vlog setup. The street rat complains about the weather. All right, we laughed. And then he was like, but problem is I'll probably never make the fucking audiobook either. So I was like, well, you might as well do a telegram. Just type it out in a typewriter and post a letter to somebody saying this was going to be an audiobook about a video I was never going to make. We joked about that, and I used to laugh at him for that. And now I'm like, yep, I get it. I understand it. The motivation's gone. And he was a guy that used to make videos all the time. And I love, at that time, like two of us were making Instagram stories all the time. And a friend of mine, Mark Hill, was doing the same thing. And there was like, we chatted quite regularly. And because the three of us were doing it, we sort of drove each other and pushed each other. And it was always like this little like competition as to who could one up the other one. And if you spoke to either of them, they would deny that, right? Would deny it to the death. But we know the truth. It's always and it's healthy competition. That's the competition that drives you. That's a competition that motivates you, But it's the constant doing. It's the momentum of doing that's actually driving the motivation to do the next one, to beat that person, to do that thing. So you gotta, it's just fucking keep doing things. Nike have been saying for ages, just do it. And the guy Ben that I work with in the gym, he has a phrase that he plays with, which is just like, says, do it anyway. And I love that because it's just so fucking stupid and so absolutely 100% accurate. Oh, I've got a sore foot. I don't want to go. Do it. Cool. Do it anyway. Just, do the thing anyway, regardless of how you feel. But I'm tired. Cool. doesn't, and I get that. It makes so much sense. I say this to people all the time. I can't do that because I didn't get much sleep last night. You're like, well, that's just a fact of life. Just go and do the thing anyway. And I keep trying to get this through to my head. And this has just been ringing true. And when I heard that sentence, momentum drives motivation, it made me think about that book, Willpower Doesn't Work. And I remember when I read that book, I was like, this makes so much sense. You can't just sit about waiting for this like little shimmer of hope. You've got to make that success. You've got to go and find a way. No, you can't. See, I'm saying it already. You have to find it. You don't have to find a way. What does Yoda say? There is no try. There is only do or don't. Do you not? What is it? There is no try. There is only do or do not. I'm pretty sure that's what he says. Something like that, but in a little Yoda voice, right? And like that's just, now we're just quoting fictional characters from the 1980s. It's a tricky one because I get in my own head about it, because at the same time as saying just make the thing, post it and move on, I also sometimes look around and go, there's a lot of people who should have their internet access revoked. Like, you just shouldn't be allowed, or at least the access to be able to contribute to the internet. When I sit there sometimes, I'm by no means the best person making content, but I'm definitely not the shittest person at making content. And I look around me sometimes and I'm like, how has that person got the audacity to make that and put that on the internet relentlessly every single fucking day? And I'm sitting here double questioning, I'm sitting here questioning myself. I'm sitting here going, I'm not sure if that's the right thing. Is that what you want to do? Is that the right idea? Is that good enough? Can you upload a phone photograph to your Instagram grid? And like, never worry about it. The fucking old man over there has just walked out and filmed himself on the front-facing camera, like with a smudgy fingerprint on it. You can already fucking, from down here where all you're looking at is chins and his fucking eye socket here. And there's a kid in this country that I don't even know what the fuck he says. He's from down south somewhere. He reviews chip shop food. Have you ever seen him? And he just sits down and he's like, oh, fucking meal. I don't even know what he said. He's from down south, so there's not that sort of accent. But he's like, oh, no, just out to your place and you're just going to eat these chips. And he just fucking eats a chip. And he's hard to even put the chip in his fucking mouth and he's reviewing it. Oh, it's a good chip. There's no way you can tell me it's a good chip. You haven't eaten it yet. You've put it on the tip of your tongue, and you're already giving me the review of how good the chip is. Deep throat that bad boy, digest it, and then say that chip was good. And also, it's a fucking chip. Anyway, the point of the matter is, he makes internet content about eating chip shop chips, and it's always the same shit from just a different chip shop. And I'm like, why am I struggling? Fuck him, it doesn't matter about him. Why am I struggling to make a video and put it on the internet, whinging about being motivated or not? You got this guy just, posting his lunch on the internet and having no problems with it. Sometimes I just sit and think, what the fuck is going on? So I then get into this battle of like, but are you just adding more shit to the internet? And the answer to that question is yes. And who cares? Because, as long as you're doing something that you feel, that's a whole other, it's an entire other. Honest to God, if you knew the things that were going on in my brain, there's like so many thoughts. I've often thought about, like, I should have done something else in my life. I should have done human psychology or something, because I dissect things and people's natures and the way people act. And there's so many things I'd love to say on the podcast. There's so many topics I'd love to talk about. But then I get stuck in the cycle of like, is this supposed to be a creative podcast? Am I supposed to be talking about creativity? And then if I do, where does that draw the line? And do we go down, is it tips and tricks? God, I'm not really interested in that. Is it storytelling? I love telling stories. I'd love to just tell you a story about a fucking airplane, which I might do in the next episode, because I have some stuff to say about people and food on airplanes. So in the next episode, we're gonna talk about people and food on airplanes, and we'll find a way to bring it round to creativity in some fucking form. Maybe I'll tell you how I recorded it, or I don't know, maybe we'll take a photograph and just show you a photograph of some slime bag eaten on an airplane. But I just thought I wanted to share that with you because it's been running around my head with it, and I just feel like maybe there's somebody else out there that's thinking, yeah, Dill, I got that. Use momentum. The momentum will feed the motivation. The motivation will feed the momentum. And that cycle is the thing that will keep you going, keep you posting, keep you making stuff. Because that's all we've really got to do. And I think that's when you really start to think about that and break it down, that's how so many things in life work. For me, I surf. Am I good at surfing? Debatable. But the more I surf, the more I'm motivated to surf. The more I surf, the better I surf. And that cycle carries on and on and on. And I've noticed that with the gym. I've noticed that with video making. I've noticed that with anything in my life. The motivation part is fueled by the momentum part. They work part and parcel. So take that to the bank. All right? Hope you've enjoyed listening to this. Thanks for listening to another rant on a podcast that should have more momentum and thus motivate itself. But look, let me know your thoughts if you want, or don't. Go and live your life. Catch you in the next episode. Easy enough, just keep doing that. Just make that, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then we'll find our rhythm. That's all we got to do. Find our rhythm. Dun, 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 dun. I'm done. And with 1 minute to spare on the card, I'm using an app, a monitoring app, to control the camera. Stop.